Are you ready, kids? Aye, Captain. I can't hear you. Aye, Captain. Oh!
I was really looking forward to reviewing this one, right up until I got to the end of the game and had to write the review. Let's start at the beginning. THQ, who ended up owning a lot of really good PS2 era games, decided they'd remaster some of their catalog to shore up an otherwise lukewarm year for gaming. One of those games was Battle for Bikini Bottom, which was definitely one of the best SpongeBob games of the time at least. A 3D adventure platformer collectathon for babies. At least that's how I remembered it. Replaying the Rehydrated version, I decided that I was right, the dialogue is for babies, but the gameplay is absolutely not. I completed these challenges before as a child. There is absolutely no reason for me to be struggling with them as an adult. But maybe that's the fluoride and good old time doing its work. In any case, you complete challenges and puzzles to get golden spatulas, which is suddenly SpongeBob's entire purpose in life. As well, you have shiny things that act as a sort of currency. For what, you ask? Well, I don't think the developers were really sure either. You can spend some with Mr. Krabs to get more spatulas, but doing that may mean that you won't have enough to unlock alternate paths that will also lead to golden spatulas. If you choose to use them to unlock alternate paths, you may not have enough for the theater at the end. If you use them for the theater at the end, you won't have enough to convince your family you aren't a failure. This game really hopes you want to grind for shinies and just buy everything, but it at least makes grinding somewhat fun. Super mindless, but it is something. It also really hopes that you like slides. A lot. Which I do, I guess. You get to play as 3 different characters through the campaign: SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy. I think Patrick survived the game's writing most intact. The writing could otherwise be funny every once in a while, but is just for children most of the time. It is a lot like a later season episode of SpongeBob in that way. His look is super cutesy, and 3-year-olds should be able to relate to his absolute lack of perception to the world around him. It's not exactly what I'm looking for in entertainment as an adult, but it's fine. Tolerable. On the note of tolerable, a lot of the physics puzzles seem to have been rehydrated less than optimally. I don't remember everything feeling like it was on rails all the time. Sandy's swinging and Patrick's throwing are strange, but I adjusted, I guess. The ball puzzle in the Mermalair is a damn shame though. I remember some pretty fucked up stuff happening to my ball puzzles back in the day. Balls chaotically flying away or just rolling off the track randomly. But this time it felt much more like leading an iron elephant through an indoor car wash. I don't think making everything more boring and predictable is good in a re-release of an old popular game that is primarily marketing itself towards nostalgia-ridden cunts like me. But what do I know? Nostalgia is your primary shit here though, as you'll find nearly everything you remember from your childhood intact. I say nearly just to cover my ass in case they actually changed anything. But the experience is there. Remastered. Great! I like this attitude of saving the past in a more playable format. It's just a shame that I know they're doing it less to catalog the history of gaming, and more to make lots of sponge bucks. Give me a rehydration of the lesser known SpongeBob games that deserve a good retry in the modern day. I don't get why they remaster only the popular games. You'd think they would have took a crack at fixing Revenge of the Flying Dutchman's game-breaking bugs and making it look up to par. That enough would have constituted a new experience. But remastering Battle for Bikini Bottom is like fixing something that's not broke. I think it'd be better if the industry was just better at archiving its history and making old games playable more into the future. But that's just not as profitable, is it? It's nice to have on Steam with new features and a modern look, but remasters are such a weak experience when you've ground the game to dust in the past. It sells itself to people that played before, but most of us will soon find that we already played the game. Nostalgia certainly sells, but the feeling is fleeting. Maybe if I took out my Xbox and played on an original controller with a calculator resolution, then the nostalgia would last. But in the remaster, I kind of just get to a new location, go, yeah, that's how I remember it, and continue attempting to speedrun the level, already having the solutions to all of the puzzles. You may have noticed that I didn't mention the new multiplayer, and that is not on purpose. I don't have a controller for a second person, and searching online for a match yielded no results. I even tried at a good time and with a lot of patience. I had one person join, then leave immediately when they saw that I was playing Patrick. I would have changed characters! But whatever. I can't start the multiplayer without someone else, and nobody else seems to give a fuck, so I skipped it. It is apparently a reuse of the game's assets and unused assets to make a horde multiplayer, and I can applaud the effort. Although it is nice to have, I don't think anybody is going to be buying the game for that experience, although I might be wrong if you're a super fan. I personally bought the game for the experience of finding Patrick's smelly socks around the world, and pondering which robot makes me rage the most. I'll go first. Cowboy Dogbot is perhaps the most annoying to run into, but he's hardly a challenge. Those oil dudes I usually just have to snipe from outside their range with my bubble missile, which is almost as much fun as the fucking pause menu. On that note, the sleepy bastards are also annoying, but I found my favorite way to deal with them was to jump up and smash down on top of them like a WWE star. I think my award has to go to the classic tartar sauce spots though. I can't seem to jump at them in a way where they won't just barrel stuff me. But I said this game was hard. Am I really that bad at video games? A little bit, yeah, but I mostly found myself struggling against the camera to tell where the hell I was at. Classic 3D platformers. Good thing the camera is really fluid in motion, and I can always just stare down from above like God to get through the platforming. But on more than one occasion, I found myself going after a golden spatula that I couldn't pick up. What the fuck, SpongeBob? Then it turns out that I just didn't use the bungee cord that is apparently required to pick them up. There's a lot of bullshit like that. That being said, there are some skips that I found worked, mostly with checkpoints. I don't know if that is a point in the game's favor or not, but I found it fun. Combat is kept easy because the enemies throw a block party every time they hit you, and you get plenty of tools to deal with them. The gameplay overall is fun and has a pretty good amount of depth. I believe the entire reason that this game got the remaster is because it was so well designed in the first place. SpongeBob as a series sets a very high bar for music, so there was probably a question of how to pull together all of the game's visual elements while still retaining a spongy vibe. And I've gotta say, what a fucking good job. Every song, all great. They all get tiring around the same time that you already finished the area, so you can just fuck off. Except maybe the sliding song. That one got old. Otherwise, this entire soundtrack is 17 years old and it's still great. There's only so many ways to gush over the soundtrack, but I'll wrap up by saying I think the music is perfect for this role, and it matches the game perfectly. It's not exactly SpongeBob, but neither is this, is it? But it very cool. Games of the time had this obsession with green goo in a dark mechanical world. I genuinely miss it. Sure, the 3D didn't look great, but god damn it's gonna be a world straight off a Megadeth album cover dripping with Mountain Dew. In Moderno Vision, the game looks great, as you could probably expect. It is so nice that they fixed those 3D models a bit. Showing the main characters in a SpongeBob game has always seemed to be extremely hard though. This game pulls it off more or less, but has some lighting issues and still just doesn't look like the show. This combined with the iffy character writing means that this game doesn't really satisfy the same entertainment as the show, but it is at least close enough to turn your brain off every now and then and just pretend. I don't know when exactly I turned on this game. I think it's when I realized that I still knew where the secrets were all these years later and I was doing nothing new. Maybe the multiplayer mode would have saved it, but I doubt it. If you've never played the game before or never finished it and your tolerance for kiddie bullshit is high, then I can suggest this game pretty highly. It's alright. A good adventure game thing. I'm unhappy, but it's not really this game's fault. And I can recognize that it looks, plays, and sounds like a SpongeBob fan's fevered dream. Licensed games often struggle. This one less so. It's worth buying for the soundtrack alone, in my opinion. Probably the best SpongeBob game, for what that's worth. In conclusion, I'm now looking forward to Revenge of the Flying Dutchman Rehydrated. Good luck, THQ, that one will be a real fucker.